Kevin, do you see the determination, man? They are so focused. Oh, man. I don't think LucifroN's like a really nice guy. We walked up earlier. He actually like said, "Oh, excuse me." He thought he was in my way. I'm like, "No, man, you're like the player. Like, don't say anything to me." But like, you see him stare at the computer. You can just he's willing to kill somebody. It's awesome to see. But here he is, actually in the very far top left corner. Your orange Terran player. It's going to be LucifroN. Bottom right corner, guys. Green Protoss player currently down in the series 0-1. It's going to be Grubby.
All right, so Grubby versus LucifroN came to. Both of our sets have actually gone in this map order so far. We started on Cloud Kingdom, then we had a pick for Ohana afterwards. And I'll be curious to see what Grubby wants to do, because this is certainly a map where you can kind of bunker up, go up to a ton of bases, play out that long, drawn-out macro game that revolves a lot around positioning of Vikings in the late game. But you certainly have the potential to get in damage quick, very quick on this map. The main is very large. There are opportunities to drop. There are opportunities to do warp-ins inside of the main. Blink Stalkers certainly aren't out of the question. So there's a lot of flexibility here.
Yeah, Phoenix Zilla is actually a really strong play on this map, actually. You get Phoenixes on the field to get about 4 or 5, and then you can put a pylon down on the low ground and warp and Zealot straight in the main. And Grubby has some strong Phoenix play. I'm actually pretty impressed when I actually watch this play, and I feel like it's only a little bit underneath Hero's Phoenix play, to be honest with you. So that is a strong possibility here for Grubby. It's a common strategy on this map against Protoss and against Terran. So always keep that option open. As LucifroN, it looks like we'll be opening with 1 Rax right away. Is not going for his standard gas burst or quick command centers.
All right, so here comes Grubby now taking a look at his opponent's base course. LucifroN not putting down that second supply depot quite yet. Can't prevent the scout, and that allows Grubby to see absolutely no gas being taken unless we're going to have that weird 15 gas build that has occasionally popped out in competitive play.
Yeah, last game he went for the 1 Rax into Command Center. He did the gas before the Command Center and then followed up into a delayed factory. But again, his whole play there was meant to be really Marine Zealot, or not Marine, Marine Marauder heavy. And then followed up into the quick medevacs. And then as soon as he saw his opponent went for quick Colossi, which is weird, switched straight into Vikings. And LucifroN last game, I want to commend him. He was pretty far behind. We saw it was like 51 probes to like 37. And that's kind of a hard deficit to come back from. But again, with just having a better composition, then Grubby was able to do it.
And if you notice, Grubby had actually pulled 1 worker off of gas when he got in and scouted no gas of his opponent as well. So wants to bank up those minerals. We're not going to see quite the same amount of defensive play with the Stalker, the Warp Gate, everything added in right away. And he is actually going to be very close to that amount of gas, so he may be able to go for both, but he has enough for his Nexus right now.
Boom, there it goes with the SCV Scout. LucifroN is aware of it. What is his follow-up going to be here? He's constantly producing Marines at the moment, and it looks like as he's starting to build up a nice amount of minerals here, he could follow up into any tech route here. Last time he went for that gas, he could follow up into a really quick third command center, which is a play he loves to do against Protoss players, and it actually looks like he will be doing it. This is one of his staple builds that he enjoys doing. He will follow up into the factory, of course, get the Hellions out, if he hasn't changed up his entire gameplay from the last couple of months. But this really allows for him to boom his economy very quickly.
All right, well, Grubby's going to try and get a little control of the map. Just cutting off and trying to do whatever damage you can to this SCV. Cool little touch, but if you have a little bit of excess APM at this stage in the game, not a bad idea to get that done. Grubby going to start moving into Sentry production now, but we'll have yet to see how confident he feels in this game. If he thinks it's going to be a little bit longer game, we could see, okay, actually already going into gateways number 2 and 3 again at about the 30 supply mark. So once again, once you get units on the field to deflect any sort of early pressure.
Yep, just safe build, the same thing he did in game number 1. Now let's see if he's going to go for quick Colossi tech. I really would hope that he wouldn't go that route, actually. Just go with that Robo, get the Observer route, and then just go for a standard TVP play. And it looks like actually looking into LucifroN here is falling up to double Rax, which is actually pretty needed. You could die to a lot of gateway timings if your opponent gets aggressive off 2 bases. So 2 Rax is pretty normal. Then you follow up in the double gas. You can get the Tech Lab Reactor, whatever you want to go for in terms of those routes. But if you go for 3 command center openings, guys, get that double Rax afterwards, or you might just potentially die.
That's right, because you're sacrificing a lot to get that done. While you make a lot up in economy, you're really behind in tech, you're really behind in unit production, army, all of that. And looks like he does actually drop that SCV, kills it. Of course, Sentry at this stage of the game will be able to reaccumulate its energy before it's needed again, especially with the build that LucifroN's going for. So no big loss there, and a guaranteed SCV kill.
That force field's actually a big deal. First off, 1, because he's able to kill the SCV, but 2, he's making it look like I have some tech that might be coming up in the near future. I don't want you to scout anything, which may put LucifroN in a bit of a hurry mode to get a lot of units out. So we'll see what LucifroN does in terms of that reaction, because again, that force field wasn't quite needed to get the SCV. It was going to die off eventually, but it puts thoughts into LucifroN's head.
That's right. Mind game.
That's right.
Always.
Thank you, Day 9/Apollo.
No problem. Gotcha. There's a lot of Marines out, obviously. That's what's going to happen at this stage of the game. Investing into that stim pack right away. It takes a while for it to get done, but LucifroN wasn't looking to get aggressive anytime soon. Slowly start moving through his tech tree. There's factory. You're going to see engineering base here in a second. There they are. Looks like he's actually going to go for both at the same time and get that 1-1 as quick as possible.
That's what this third command center allows you to do, man. You get the third, fourth gas, and you just move up so quick in upgrades. In mid-game, you are super powerful. Now, of course, you're really hurting yourself in the early game as you won't have very many units on the field. You actually just kind of want to bunker up and hope your opponent doesn't go for a quick all-in very fast before about 8-9 minutes. But with him getting his double engineering base, as mentioned, around 10 to 11 minutes, man, he will have very strong competition.
All right, well, Grubby floating his way across the map with an observer to get a good idea of what his opponent is up to. Number 2 just popping out right behind that as well. So wants really nice vision around, and he's going to play that more Creator Prime style. Lots of observers, double forges, stay safe against drops, and move towards a late game.
This build really works out against LucifroN's build. It's going to be a passive build for both players, but both players are, again, going to be very strong in the mid game. And this is actually coming from that scout from the Observer. Observer sees everything, and Grubby makes the correct decision, in my opinion, to actually follow up into. Would like to have a quicker third. Normally in TVP, you're going to see it around 9:30, and he's going to actually be getting it down around 9 minutes here, so a little bit on the earlier side.
Okay, well, those rocks are finally gone. The Tickle Beam has tickled the rocks to death with the aid of a couple of swords. I don't understand how swords and a Tickle Beam combine to eliminate rocks, but nevertheless. LucifroN now moving up to 5 barracks. Will eventually have that starport available to him and is well along in his upgrades. But of course, Grubby concentrating on that double forge a little bit earlier on is going to have as good, if not better, upgrades if he continues to chrono boost those.
All right, so 2 medevacs on the way. Aggression will be available for LucifroN very soon. He's actually falling into more racks as well, so it looks like he really wants to start putting pressure on the map. And he kind of needs to do that against Protoss, especially against Double Forge. This Colossus is walking to the top left.
That's right, but of course he's not getting range right now for that Colossus, so he wants to show it somewhere. It doesn't matter where. He wants to be able to get it out there and be like, look, I have a Colossus, you gotta start preparing for this. And then he starts switching into Charge Lots and Immortals and Archons and Storm and things like that afterwards.
That's a good point, because last game, actually, when we had the 4 medevacs out, we switched into Vikings, it was pure Viking production from there. LucifroN really didn't ever stop in terms of Viking production until the medevacs were killed off. So if he can actually get that Colossus shown, as you mentioned, that could be really deadly for LucifroN and allow Grubby, as mentioned, to move into that tech High Templar Storm, actually, and it looks like it, as we have the Templar Archives already on the way.
That's right, and look, the Marine sees this this Colossus. Oh no, get away!
Get away!
Oh, you saw my Colossus, whatever will I do?
Oh, he's gonna get the 3rd scout, though. This is actually meant to do. He's gonna stem once again, and 3rd is now seen, and he's even moved to the natural. A lot of information popping up for that one Marine. That Immortal blew him to pieces.
It was really important, though, that LucifroN actually saw that Immortal, because that Immortal came well after that Colossus. That was not meant to be seen. And, you know, LucifroN could make a couple of Vikings here or there. No, he's not taking the bait whatsoever, and he's actually started more medevacs afterwards, going up into Ghost Academy. He knows exactly what Grubby is up to.
LucifroN's so smart, man. 2-2 on the way, and it looks at this point, Grubby will start to pull away in upgrades if he keeps the Chrono Boost there on top of his forges. As you can tell right now, they're very, very even as the upgrades are popping out. But Grubby has a good opportunity here to get 3-3 done a little bit quicker than his opponent.
Yeah, that's very true, but LucifroN's got a great read on his opponent, and there's a lot that can be said for that. Yes, Grubby is going to be amassing a very powerful force. He's going to have a lot of tech flexibility as we move throughout this game. He'll be able to hit with some powerful timings, things like that. But LucifroN is pretty prepared for this. It's going to require good positioning, yes, obviously, but for the time being, he has a really good hold on this game.
I like LucifroN going into Quick Ghost here as well. He has 3 at a time already producing. He's going to have a nice amount of EMPs available, especially with High Templars on the way. That means he'll be able to prevent Sonic Storm from being popped up as well.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, he's just reading this so darn perfectly. A 5th and 6th gas are already here for LucifroN at the same time, just constantly moving up in the bio production here. We'd like to see him start moving into a 4th if he doesn't plan on moving out with a 2-2 push, which is pretty normal in TVP. We'll see what his plan is, because he's going to have a lot of ghosts, as mentioned. So if he moves out and he gets a nice EMP, especially on the first initial High Templars, Grubby will essentially have nothing to defend with.
All right, well, let's see here as Grubby starting to position his way out towards the middle of the map. He has really nice map control. I want to take a look here at Grubby's vision. He's got multiple observers inside of his opponent's base, over their army. He's got structures all around, pylons being built to the right-hand side. He actually had both Selnaga towers there until finally LucifroN moved forward with a couple of units there to be able to deflect this. So Grubby himself has a very powerful force assimilated here.
All right, so 2-2 on the way, but 2-2 is about to finish up for Grubby as well. So it all comes down to the engagement. It comes down to Storm's actually nailing, and of course the EMPs. That's the really important part here, guys. So make sure to pay attention to them.
Okay, well, let's see here as we could be headed for a showdown here momentarily. No, Grubby going to pull back. He does see the entire scope of this army, and a great scan sees the entire army pulling back. Nice job there. A snipe was attempted. Looks like one Templar got picked off, but a storm landed on a good portion of LucifroN's units. Of course, his medevac sealed that up immediately.
High Templar is caught. It will go down. Force field already used there as well. Be a little bit more sparingly with those, and one lone Marauder will get caught off as well. But 4 force fields for essentially 1 Marauder is really not that good of a trade there.
Right, and the energy on the sentry is a little bit low. Grubby doing a nice job of moving and flanking with a High Templar and moving those off to the side. The Ghosts get a little bit isolated out in the front, and a couple half died, not before they get off a couple of EMPs, though. Templar were hit at the back, with the Templar coming in from the side are going to try and make the difference. Looks like Grubby wanted to try and capture a couple of units there, but he doesn't have much energy left on these sentries as a result of what happened before, and now LucifroN's at a pretty powerful spot.
Yeah, LucifroN had those Vikings there as well to prevent the High Templars from coming down and getting these storms off. There is one more engagement as well, but with all the area effect damage essentially quenched here, it looks like LucifroN is going to be tailing out the third, and that's really important here for Grubby. Grubby's trying to hold. He does land one storm. Colossus comes from the top left, and with the Colossus there, he might be able to deal with it, but it's sniped immediately by LucifroN. Nice control in these engagements. Probes have been pulled off the line as well, and LucifroN is really tearing through Grubby at the moment. With these Immortals, he'll finally be able to hold this off, but a nice amount of damage has been done.
But there's another base already prepared for Grubby, and he did lose a lot of in the way of workers, and in fact, he's actually backstabbed his opponent and killed 47 of his opponent's own workers. So Grubby has inflicted a huge amount of economic damage behind this, all the while he defended the attack up the front and retained a third base. So even though that attack did pretty well as far as taking out a lot of high-value units for LucifroN, the backstab damage has more than made up for that.
Yeah, it certainly has. Can we actually look at the units tab really quickly before we have another engagement? 69 to 34. Jeez, Grubby did a lot of damage there, and unfortunately missed it, but we caught the end of the action there. With so many Zealots running your natural and your third, and you're not paying attention, they will just melt through your SCVs, and essentially looking at those numbers really proves it there. And Grubby's gonna have time here to mass up an army, while LucifroN just can't really build that much.
Okay, LucifroN caught it, but not before a couple of SCVs were starting to be sent across the map. He had his rally point there a little bit off in the midst of everything that had happened there. He's gonna try and attack off to this base, and that's really his opportunity. If he gets on the high ground, he's able to snipe this out, then he's going to be in a more equitable spot, even though it's still gonna be very rough for him.
Grubby's moving Zealots as well in the top right corner at the same time, so he's constantly getting Zealots, and he can afford to because he has the economy lead here. But it looks like LucifroN's trying to get this base down with Storm Zone, Immortal popping out, and Zealots essentially in the front. Grubby's going to be able to hold it off a little bit here as his Zealots are making it to the natural, and it looks like LucifroN catches it this time. Will he get that Nexus kill off? He does kill it off immediately there, trying to catch some units at the same time. And this is a good point where LucifroN has to do a lot of damage. As mentioned, he lost so many SCVs, so his instinct is, okay, I need to go kill off my opponent to make sure he doesn't get an economy lead on here while I build up another force and has some SCVs.
There is still Storm available to him, but Grubby's got to pick his engagement very wisely. He's continuing to do damage inside of his opponent's third. EMP does hit quite a few units off to the side here, gets rid of the Heart and Shield to the Immortals too. So they're going to be a little bit weaker here in this engagement, but there's still enough forces for Grubby that is able to force this back, and of course, happens to finish up his third as soon as that engagement ends up falling.
LucifroN's doing a really good job of retaining his medevacs and making it really important. You want to have your medevacs against High Templar storms. As you saw, he actually didn't really care to micro in that engagement because one, he was dealing with Zealots, but two, his medevacs could out-heal essentially the storms as long as there's no Zealot follow-up. So LucifroN, with having so many medevacs in the field now, is going to be able to engage pretty nicely. It's going to be really important for Grubby to make sure that he has Zealots on top of those units when he lands storms.
You see how even the resources losses between our opponents right now, almost dead even 19 minutes into the game. So they have been trading blows back and forth. The medevac count, though, has been retained, as you mentioned before, and so there's still quite a bit of sustain to this army and a huge amount of Marauders to be able to deal with any sort of follow-up of Colossi. But it looks like all the units just sitting around the back here. This third is going to get picked off very quickly if Grubby doesn't engage, and he loses it without being able to effectively engage. LucifroN actually trying to back up now without taking any losses.
Yeah, he's switching to Archons, which are really nice for just holding on to a lot of damage because of, oh my gosh, the EMP's landed as well. It's going to force Grubby to pull back, and with him having that third killed off, if LucifroN pulls back, he started to retain his economy once again. He's going to be feeling pretty nicely here. He's chasing back. He needs to get the damage done. Storms are landing. The units are pretty weak. The Archons moving forward. They have limited splash damage, but it's just not enough. The Colossus goes down as well, and Grubby looks like he may be falling to LucifroN as he loses his whole entire army.
That's right. There's still just enough sustain. Keeping that many medevacs alive over the course of this game has proven to be invaluable to LucifroN. He's trying to pick off this base one more time, and he gets it. Not even canceled, outright killed. Tries to snipe that last medevac with the last of the forces from LucifroN, but he can't do it, and LucifroN gets away with at least a few Marauders intact.
The patience there for LucifroN. He was just floating his medevacs above, just waiting for the moment for the next to fall down, and then pulls back. And that's just one of those killer instinct moves you gotta have, man. can. You got to be able to do it and get away with it, and he certainly did. Now retreating. There is a counterattack on the way here for Grubby, but look how meager it is. Just pure Zealots and a couple of storms available, and that was more of a warning storm. Hey, don't chase me. If you do, you might potentially kill me. So nice little storm there to hold him back.
Yeah, I mean, if that had landed, I mean, this is a fairly fragile composition now, of course, because LucifroN did decide to just put out a lot of high DPS units, getting those Marines out there, so we can do a big follow-up here in just a bit. Now, of course, if Grubby had the splash damage available, that army would actually melt fairly quickly, and now he does start to add on some Colossi, upping the amount of Immortals too. Finally, he's going to have this third base reestablished in just a bit, but may have been a little bit too much now as LucifroN's getting his 4th command center, and he's mining away on this 3rd once again. In fact, has caught up in the worker count.
LucifroN's finally cleaning up all these pylons on the right side of the map so he can prevent all these Zealots from running by. They've been quite a hindrance on him, but with those being killed off, that will slow down a lot of Grubby's counterattacks, which is going to be quite helpful for LucifroN when he goes for a really strong push. He's got +3 on the way, keeping up that Ghost production 4 at a time on the way as well, already moving into a 4th command center. So it looks like with his main starting to be mined out, he wants to get a command center down in that bottom left so he can stay on a 3-base economy.
Now, Grubby does have a small upgrade advantage at the moment, but of course his army supply is a little bit lower than he would like at the moment. While he can drop down a few storms, excuse me, and then hopefully move into some Archons afterwards. Oh, actually, that was a great job by LucifroN, not just to pick off the Colossus, but move forward with just a couple of units at a time to bait out those storms. He's done a very effective job of that, and all of a sudden, Grubby's in not a good position at all.
All right, the push does happen. The medevacs are going to help heal off those Marines and Marauders. Look at the sustainability there. Even though the Storms hit a majority of those units, there are just too many medevacs pushing forward once again, kiting back at the same time. Needs to get these Marines and Marauders all focusing on the army here so we can deal with the next afterwards. With the last Immortal killed off, Grubby, GG's, LucifroN taking the series 2-0.
All right, so LucifroN knocking Grubby into the lower bracket, and we have our upper bracket and lower bracket matches set. We're going to see LucifroN versus Scarlet in the winners finals. We're going to have Grubby versus Illusion in the lower bracket there. So good games between our two players, and that's all for our second set of the day.
Man, that was the killer instinct from LucifroN. Is it's amazing to watch. But guys, yeah, that's going to be it. Let's go ahead and get ready to run to a commercial break, and we'll be back as soon as possible with your guys' games.